Chapter 211, Outstanding Merit. Tang Xiu left the 40th floor, but he didn't return to Chen Wei's room and headed toward the control room on the 4th floor instead. Under the astonished gazes of Deng Jianmin and Cheng Xueme, he calmly said, "I met the woman from the pair of drug dealers and made her faint because she was going to kill me. In addition, the white-haired guy has already escaped from the hotel. I saw him from the window." Deng Jianmin angrily spoke, "Who the hell are you? How can you be so sure that the main culprit has run away?" Tang Xiu replied with a cold expression and tone, "I don't need you to believe my words. My task has been completed, and the rest is your responsibility. If there's nothing else, don't bother me anymore." After having said that, he left the control room. Cheng Xueme quickly stopped him as she winked at Deng Jianmin. She forced out a smile and said, "Tang Xiu, Director Deng don't know you, so he didn't recognize you. I believe you, but we still have to continue the search and hunt for them. Find a place to rest first, and wait for us to take care of the matter in the hotel. We'll talk about this again later." Tang Xiu was silent for a moment before he told Chen Xueme about Chen Wei's room number. Then he left directly. I don't have the room card." Upon arriving at the door, only then did Tang Xiu realize that he hadn't brought the room's card. After hesitating for a moment, he kicked open the door. Chen Wei still fainted inside. He then used his backhand to close the door and then walked to the sofa and sat. 2 hours later. Tang Xiu was sitting drowsily on the sofa when the doorbell rang. Since the door was badly battered by Tang Xiu, Cheng Xueme opened with a surprised expression hung on her beautiful face as she walked inside. "You guys are?" With an indifferent expression, Tang Xiu replied, "She's the friend of my teacher and just arrived in Star City. I was asked to accompany her strolling around the city. You also saw her last night in the Three Feathers pub. Originally, I was going to go home, but I didn't expect that when I was about to leave, the matter with those foreign drug dealers broke out, so I came back here." "What happened to her?" Cheng Xueme immediately asked. "It's her mistake for not letting me out. So I made her faint. Anyways, let's stop talking about her. There's some matter between us I need to discuss with you," Tang Xiu said. "Between them?" Cheng Xueme had gotten used to the confusing tone and words Tang Xiu used. However, since she was also a tenacious and determined woman, she shook her head and said whilst smiling, "I came here to thank you. Tonight, if it weren't for you, I'm afraid we wouldn't catch those drug dealers and we also would have suffered grave casualties. Furthermore, the woman you defeated, she died." Tang Xiu said, "I want to form an agreement with you. You know I just graduated from high school and am going to Shanghai to attend college. So I want you to not disclose my involvement in this case." "How can we do that?" "The bureau director, Deng Jianmin, already knows about your deeds. He has decided to give you a model citizen reward for this important report. He wants the public to learn from your deeds and encourage them to be law-abiding citizens in order to support the police wholeheartedly. Equals." Tang Xiu waved his hand to interrupt her and said with a deep tone, "Keep me out of it. I don't want to become famous, it will only bring about a lot of troubles to me. If you want to create a model figure, pick someone else. I don't care about it. There's no way we can lie that blatantly, no?" Cheng Xueme let out a forced smile as she replied. "If you insist to publicize me, then it's fine with me. But if the media happens to interview me, I'll say that the police are doing nothing and they're useless to even use threats for my help in catching those drug dealers. In short, I will discredit your police force." "How about I say that?" Tang Xiu replied with a cold expression. "You?" As dumbfounded as she was, Cheng Xueme looked at Tang Xiu and was at a loss whether she had to cry or laugh. She had never seen such person. He could obviously obtain fame and fortune for doing such a good deed. But he unexpectedly refused the reward for his own efforts. Furthermore, this guy even dared to threaten her? Forget it then. I won't report your involvement in this case. But, I really don't get why would you refuse such a good deed like this. Had it been others, I'm sure they take it without thinking. Do you really think this is a good thing? Tang Xiu replied with an indifferent expression. Isn't it? Chang Xueme asked back. Don't forget that one of those drug dealers ran away. If I guess correctly, that guy is highly likely the most important person. That woman destroyed the surveillance cameras up to the 30th and 40th floor. She also intentionally committed murder wantonly. She was using her life to attract the police forces to give that white-haired guy a chance to run away. Tang Xiu explained. Chang Xueme stared blankly for a moment and instantly understood it. A bitter expression was revealed on her beautiful face as she nodded and said, "You're right." According to the confession from the drug dealers, the one who escaped was Taylor, the only son of a big-shot drug dealer in the Golden Triangle. He is nicknamed Crown Prince Thought. Thus, if I go forward and receive the attention from thousands of people, do you think the guy won't harbor any grudges toward me? If he wants revenge, then the first one he will come for would be me, no? Tang Xiu said. At this moment, Chang Xueme finally understood everything. With a bit of complicated expression on her face, she then nodded and said, I understand your concern. This is truly a poor consideration from our side. Please be rest assured that I will make sure to press down on this matter. We'll never reveal the slightest hint of your involvement. Do me a favor, would you? I must go home now, so send some police officer to stay guard here. I'll come again tomorrow morning. Tang Xiu said. All right. Chang Xueme nodded. Tang Xiu left the Caesar Grand Hotel. But he somewhat regretted not asking Chang Xueme for someone to send him home. Feeling vexed, he waited for a long time on the roadside before he caught a taxi. After coming back to Southgate Town, Tang Xiu found that Mu Qingping hadn't rested yet. She was sitting in the living room, reading a book. Recently, he realized that Mu Qingping had changed a lot compared to the past. She was quite different from before, either her manner, speech or habits. Big sis Mu, you haven't rested yet? Tang Xiu asked casually. Mu Qingping looked up. She immediately got up upon seeing Tang Xiu and said with a smile, those instructors recommended me a few books, so I took the time to read them. By the way, have you eaten yet? You want me to prepare a midnight snack for you? No need, thanks. I had dinner this evening. Anyhow, how's your training course with those instructors? Good. Tang Xiu shook his head and replied. It's great. They are indeed worthy of their internationally renowned reputation. Everything in regards to their teaching is very good. Tang Xiu, can I discuss something with you? Mu Qingping said with a smile. What is it? Tang Xiu asked. Some of the instructors intend to take me to the outside for a week to learn more comprehensive contents, such as management and maintenance of private aircraft, yacht staff arrangement, the layouts, and, Mu Qingping said. Tang Xiu interrupted her, just go. I'll take care of Yinyin. I'll get a driver's license in the next few days, so I can pick up Mom, she also can take care of Yinyin while convenient. Thank you. Mu Qingping replied with a grateful expression. Tang Xiu waved his hand and said, I'm her master, this is what I should do. Also, please don't always say thanks, will you? We're a family, it's unnecessary. Suddenly, Tang Xiu's expression changed as an upset look could be seen on his face. What is it? Mu Qingping was keenly aware of Tang Xiu's changing expression and asked. It's just that I had to go to the driving school today. I'd forgotten about it. Tang Xiu answered with a wry smile. It turns out to be this matter. Just go there and see the school's instructor. It will be fine. Mu Qingping replied and laughed. Tang Xiu said reluctantly, it's because the Southgate Town's property manager, to be frank. She's the one who helped me find a driving school and see its principal. So I must go to see him, Anne.
Ah.
Forget it. I'll go there tomorrow. The next morning. Rays of sunshine had risen from the eastern horizon. Tang Xiu woke up and took a short bath. After having breakfast at home, he went out and bought breakfast for Chen Wei, as he then went in a hurry to Caesar Grand Hotel. At the hotel, Chen Wei was still sleeping soundly. Upon seeing her sleeping form on the bed, Tang Xiu knew that she must have woken up last night. He put the breakfast package on the tea table casually and then booted the computer and began to browse the internet. He rarely touched a computer. He went to the internet cafe very few times as he usually only went there for his computer class from school. Shortly after, he found a lot of news on the internet that covered the news about Star City's Jing group. Along with it, there were all types of curses and slanders, which especially flamed the Zhang family.
Ah.
Right. I can also search for precious or news on the internet, can't I? Tang Xiu's expression moved and immediately began to use the mighty Baidu as he searched information related to ores. Browsing through the text information and pictures, Tang Xiu did find several good ores. Unfortunately, since he was not skilled in computers, he didn't know how to access the link to the ores addresses.
Ah.
Precious Ores Trading Network? Tang Xiu clicked the hyperlink as his eyes turned bright in the next moment. Wintertide Fluorite? Star Fragment Stone? After browsing for more than half an hour, Tang Xiu found these two precious ores. Especially the Star Fragment Stone, he didn't even dare to imagine that such a precious ore existed on Earth. One must note that this precious ore was extremely rare even in the Immortal world. It was a treasure of which every master refiner could only dream about. Tang Xiu took out his mobile and typed the number on the page as he dialed it. Who's speaking? A voice belonging to an old person came out of the mobile. I saw something on the Ore Trade Network. Do you still have this Star Fragment Stone? If you still have it, I'll buy all the stock. How much do you want? Tang Xiu replied, just like I said before, all of the stock. Since it's a bulk trade, come to Tianjin City. Tang Xiu's brows raised and spoke in a deep tone, I still have something to take care of in these 2 days, so I can't go there now. At the latest, I can go 3 days from now. I hope you can preserve it for me. All right, rest assured. Tang Xiu hung up the phone and dialed another number on the page. What made him frown was that the same old person turned out to be the one who answered his call, even though the number was different. I'll be waiting for you in Tianjin City within 3 days. After he finished speaking, he then directly hung up the phone. Tang Xiu was quite puzzled. Since the other party was selling the Star Fragment Stone and the Wintertide Fluorite, why would he give 2 different phone numbers on the network? Chapter 212, Car Training at the Driving School. Inside a VIP room of the Caesar Grand Hotel. Chen Wei's eyelids fluttered as she slowly opened her eyes on the soft and cozy bed. After she sat up with her sleepy eyes, Tang Xiu's shadow entered her blurry vision as anger suddenly boiled up from her stomach up to her brain. Her tender body bounced up from the bed as she threw herself forward threateningly as though a hungry tiger toward Tang Xiu. Surname Tang Bastard. This ancestress will fight with you. Tang Xiu's thoughts were abruptly interrupted. He turned around and saw Chen Wei, who was storming over at him. His eyes slightly paused, because Chen Wei was wearing loose pajamas and the belt tied around her waist was already loosened. The pajamas split open in the middle, and due to Chen Wei's movements, not only did he see those snow-white big buns, he could also see its 2 little red cherries atop it. Was this the legendary, exposed chest? A short circuit happened inside Tang Xiu's brain when Chen Wei flew in front of him. Just as the small pink-colored fist was about hit his nose, he reacted in an instant. Whilst feeling the heat from the lower part below his abdomen, he quickly moved lightning fast and instantly grabbed Chen Wei's waist and avoided her small fist. Then, he forcibly grabbed her big chest from the left side and threw her back to the bed as though garbage. Don't get up before you take care of your clothes first. I didn't expect you wanted to show off those impressive rising blobs of yours, though. The weather heated up and you gotta put down the fire and anger within you. Do take care not to burn your body, so you don't die in vain. Oh, that's right, I almost forgot to tell you. It actually felt pretty good. A smile outlined itself on the corner of Tang Xiu's mouth as he then turned around to the sofa and sat down. Chen Wei, who was thrown back to bed, struggled to get up again. However, she suddenly stopped upon hearing Tang Xiu's words. When she looked down at her chest, she suddenly screamed and quickly pulled on her pajamas to cover up her sensitive parts. Then, she grabbed a pillow and threw it at Tang Xiu, cursing, "You damn little pervert. Why you bastard, what the fuck did you grab it for?" Tang Xiu's lower part was heated up. However, he never had the intention to give his first time to Chen Wei. So, he maintained his calmness and replied indifferently, "If I were a pervert, you would have long been eaten by me on the spot. I'd even dare say that you wouldn't be able to crawl out of the bed now." Chen Wei raised her right arm as she pointed at Tang Xiu and angrily chided, "You. Why you? Why you're shameless. If I'm really shameless, I'm afraid you wouldn't even be able to move your fingers, let alone open your mouth and curse me." Chen Wei looked at Tang Xiu with an expression of wanting to cry but wasn't able to. Yesterday, she found that Tang Xiu was just like a good, well-behaved mommy boy. Although he was cunning and fierce at the most, it was only his glib talk and not his martial arts ability. But who would have thought that in just a mere one night, she suddenly found that she was not his opponent? Tang Xiu said with a dull expression, "If you don't want to get cold, hurry to take a bath and wear your clothes. I've brought you breakfast. After you finish eating, obediently stay in the hotel, I have to go out to take care of something." "Why the hell must I listen to you? I haven't settled the score with you yet. Why did you suddenly knock me out last night? Didn't you repay my good intentions with an evil one?" Chen Wei said angrily. "I've to point two mistakes. Firstly, you should remember that if you were not stupid enough to be fooled by me, you wouldn't have taken the bet yesterday. Secondly, you have done more misdemeanors compared to me. I hope you will use your brain better in the future and not spit out more garbage from your mouth." Tang Xiu said. Chen Wei was so mad even her body was trembling. But as much as she wanted, she could do nothing. She could only glare angrily at Tang Xiu, bellowing with a trembling voice, "If you don't believe me, I'll call Han Qinggu immediately and tell her that you molested me." Tang Xiu took his phone and picked Han Qinggu's number. "You can call her now. If Han Qinggu believes you, I won't say anything and leave immediately. In any case, she gotta do what she gotta do anyway. If she chose to believe me, I'm sure the friendship between the both of you will certainly be affected." Chen Wei was silent. After staying silent for a few minutes, only then did the anger on her face slowly disappeared. When she looked up again, a trace of smiling expression was revealed on her face. Even an intense curiosity filled her eyes as she asked, "Tell me, how long do your night skill ability last? Yesterday I was polite to you because I took Han Qingwu's face into account. But since you're really a marvel annoying woman, being polite to you is useless, I can only treat you with my own style." "How was it? Did you think my style is useless?" Tang Xiu said. Chen Wei raised her thumb up and exclaimed, "It's very good. To be frank, yesterday, I didn't like you even for a little bit. But today you got my admiration, even though for a bit. You know what? I'm kinda interested in you now." Tang Xiu said, "Please be prudent, will you? A woman who's curious about a man wouldn't be far from falling in love with him. And I have no interest in you whatsoever." Chen Wei laughed heartily and said loudly, "You're truly one to have people shower their affection onto, without you even being interested in them. But heck, even if I were to fall in love with you, this great aunt, I am not afraid." At the worst, I'll only give myself up to seduce you into my arms. I don't believe you can maintain your composure and stay calm just like the willow tree under the blow of the waves. That won't happen, trust me. I never, and won't ever be like this, Brother Willow, to begin with. If I had to describe myself in words, not even a chance I'll be disturbed with a woman in my lap. But if I were to aim you, at the most, I will only have sex with and dump you afterward. Tang Xiu shook his head and said. You. Chen Wei was incensed. But her anger turned into a smile, which was even faster than turning a book's pages. She then snorted coldly and said, "Humph. You just said that I'm a marvel annoying woman, no? Even if I were not a chaste woman, don't ever dream of having sex first and dump this beauty either. This great aunt, I, will be like a superglue when I love someone. Wanting to break up with me, then I'll skin a layer of that person at the least." Tang Xiu rolled his eyes. He suddenly felt that if he were to continue staying here, he would definitely go straight into a wrong direction, so he got up and lightly said, "I still have something to do, so I'll go first. Do remember that you're not to leave the room even a step. Otherwise, if you fall into an accident, I won't take any responsibility whatsoever." Chen Wei jumped again from the bed and quickly blocked the way in front of Tang Xiu as she quickly asked, "Where are you going?" Tang Xiu said, "That's my private affair, I believe." "Your private affair is to keep me a company. If your reason doesn't satisfy me, I'll follow you everywhere you go," Chen Wei said with a resented expression. Tang Xiu was helpless and replied reluctantly, "I must go to the driving school. I had an agreement to see the principal yesterday. But I forgot it because of you. So it would be very rude if I don't go today." Chen Wei rolled her eyes and opened the way as she said, "What a wimpy kid. You just thought to have your driver's license now? Bah. Forget it. Even if you're spitting out such rubbish, I'm too lazy to delve into it. Fine. I'm telling you. If you don't come for me until noon, I'll go and eat outside by myself. Be back at noon?" Tang Xiu nodded and said, "I'll try to get back in time." After leaving the Caesar Grand Hotel, Tang Xiu looked at the time. It was still early in the morning. He still had time to go his family's restaurant and explain to his mother about Inin. After he asked her to take a rest for a couple of days, only then did he took a taxi and went to the driving school. The driving school principal's name was Zhao Dequan. Although he was already past middle age, he was still spirited and had a good health. Coupled with his extraordinary manliness, he gave off the vibe of a successful figure. "Mr. Tang, Long Shuiyao told me about your situation. Chief Long also specifically called me, so you need not worry. I have properly arranged all the following issues regarding this matter. But since I have yet to know whether you can drive or not, as well as your knowledge with cars, I was thinking to ask you to come here. Anyways, I've arranged the best instructor and also the special treatment for you, so you can familiarize yourself with the car properly." Zhao Dequan spoke with an "I have handled everything" manner along with a particularly amiable expression. Tang Xiu replied with curiosity, "Chief Long? Who are you talking about, Long Zhengyu or Long Hanwen?" "It's Long Hanwen," Zhao Dequan said.
Ah.
"I didn't expect that he also heard that I want to take the driver's license test. Principal Zhang, I haven't had the chance to drive a car before, so I don't know much about driving. It seems that I'll have to trouble you. Anyway, wait for me to obtain a driver's license and I'll treat you to a meal to express my gratitude," Tang Xiu said with a smile. "You're flattering me." "Thank you," Zhao Dequan said with a light laugh. Shortly after, Tang Xiu then followed Zhang Dequan to see the special instructor who would give him the training. The instructor's surname was Li, so Tang Xiu directly called him Instructor Li. Instructor Li was standing in front of the car as he said with a smile, "All right, let's start with familiarizing yourself with the car, and then I'll teach you the essential points of driving. The first thing to do this morning is practicing. If we still have time in the afternoon, we'll go outside and ride a few laps. All right. Tang Xiu nodded. 10 minutes later. Tang Xiu had familiarized himself with the car parts. As he looked at Instructor Li in the co-pilot seat, he asked, "I've memorized all of them. Shall we try driving to the venue?" Instructor Li said with a smile, "No hurries. You must remember all sort of rules I teach you as well as memorize the points and driving skills clearly." Tang Xiu instantly realized that this Instructor Li didn't believe that he had memorized everything he just taught him. After hesitating for a moment, Tang Xiu then said, "I do have memorized everything, truly. Let's give it a try then. If there's a mistake, then correct me." Instructor Li knew that Tang Xiu's identity was unusual. So he agreed after hearing his request. However, he was still unsure and said, "When you're driving, do pay attention when you're shifting gears as well as using the clutch and brake cautiously and reasonably. You must not step on the throttle pedal too deeply." "Got it." Tang Xiu nodded. Tang Xiu put on his seatbelt, putting down the handbrake and following the order of the process taught by Instructor Li. He slowly started the car and began driving the car slowly on the open training grid. 10 minutes later, he had smoothly executed all the essential points as well as sensed the path in driving skill control. Furthermore, he had done it in very standard orders. Even the Instructor Li who sat on the co-pilot seat found it impeccable. "Awesome. You're truly amazing. You've just practiced for a few times. You know, a lot of our students practice for many days and are still unable to do this. If I didn't know that you haven't driven a car before, I would have thought you're an experienced driver." Instructor Li said with a sigh. "It's very easy. I happen to be able to learn things faster, though." Tang Xiu said with a smile. "Well, good for you. However, you must not pursue speed only, but also things that affect your state of mind. One has to have a stable and steady state of mind. You must neither be impatient nor can you let your state of mind be affected by your emotions. There's a common saying that said, the more capable one is, the more likely he would be negligent and make mistakes, which is also the principle that applies in driving. Experienced drivers rely on their rich experience, whereas reckless and arrogant people want to overtake another vehicle, speeding and so on, for which they eventually make mistakes, resulting in their own death." Chapter 213, A Top-Notch Skill. Tang Xiu himself understood this principle, so he nodded and said, "Worry not, Instructor Li. I'm sure I can control my emotional state. However, I'm afraid I have something to take care of this afternoon, so I can't come. How about you let me practice for a while and we'll give it a go on the road afterward. If you can maintain this kind of state, I can let you try to drive on the road. But if you can't, I won't permit it." Instructor Li said. "No problem." Tang Xiu replied and continued the driving practice around the storehouse, doing parallel parking, and even an uphill and fixed-point parking, for which he did everything smoothly. Instructor Li originally wanted to pick on Tang Xiu's mistakes, as to make him give up the idea of having a test drive on the road this morning. However, he was quite astonished since he couldn't find any mistakes. "Tang Xiu, is this really your first time driving a car?" Finally, he couldn't help but ask in astonishment. Tang Xiu said, "It's indeed my first time. If I want to go somewhere, I just get a ride. So I didn't expect that driving a car is quite interesting." Instructor Li forced out a smile and said, "Well, I'm really speechless. Let's try to go straight on the road then. There's a circle on the road section outside which is used especially for a test drive before trying on the traffic road. Aside from the other instructors who are coaching in other cars, there will be no danger." Tang Xiu nodded. With the guidance and directions from Instructor Li, he drove the car gently. From the first gear to the second, third, and the fourth, he continuously drove the car until he reached the fifth gear after doing a few laps of the test drive. After the upshift of the gear now was the downshift one, in which he also did smoothly. Even under the awkward instruction given by Instructor Lee, he was still able to switch gears in accordance with the instructions. More than an hour later, Instructor Lee looked at Tang Xiu with a complex expression, as he said with a wry smile, "I've taught many students in my life, one of whom is even a professional car racer. But never once have I ever met an amazing one such as you. You did it with almost zero mistakes. And seeing your driving skill, it's like you're a senior driver with years of experience. Well, let's call it a day. The task given by the principal to me can be considered to have been accomplished." Tang Xiu stopped the car as he unlocked his seatbelt and said with a smile, "Thanks a lot, Instructor Lee." Instructor Lee shook his head and said, "Being able to teach a trainee such as you kind of makes me happy, that's enough. You don't need to thank me. Well, after you've gotten your driver's license, do be careful when you're driving later." "Don't worry, I got it," Tang Xiu said with a smile. After leaving the training venue, Tang Xiu then went to the principal's office and found that Zhao Dequan wasn't in the office, so he left directly. Several minutes later, Zhao Dequan returned to his office and found that Instructor Lee was waiting for him. He was surprised and immediately asked him, "Aren't you still supposed to be teaching Tang Xiu? How come you're here?" "The training is done, so I come report," Instructor Lee said. "Huh? Is it done already? What do you mean? That Tang youth is bad at learning?" Zhao Dequan was confused. "He's not bad. On the contrary, he's way too good. If I didn't know he had never driven a car before, I would have thought that he has years of experience in driving. I had observed him in the 2 to 3 hours of his training today, and I was kinda terrified of his learning capability. His driving skill can be called as top-notch. And most importantly, do you want to know about it?" Instructor Lee forced out a smile and asked. "What is it?" Zhao Dequan asked with astonishment. "From the beginning, I began teaching him until he left, not even a mistake he made. Can you imagine that? A new trainee who started to learn usually do a lot of mistakes, many times. But he didn't commit a single one. He's simply a monster, the reincarnation of the god of driving," replied Instructor Lee. 1. Zhao Dequan was shocked and speechless. People said that everyone would make mistakes when they learn to ride a horse, and it was inevitable for one to commit mistakes when they just learned something new. However, someone who didn't even make a single mistake even with a couple hours of training was something he had never seen. This was his first time to hear it. Well, let's forget it. It's a good thing that he's a fast learner, though. I was actually afraid since he got a driver's license through an informal method, for which he would happen to meet accidents when he's driving. Well, you've done well, so I'll take a note of this. Go and do your job first. All right. Instructor Lee complied and then left the principal's office. Zhao Dequan took out his mobile phone from his pocket and dialed Long Hanwen's phone. After the call was connected, he then said with a light laugh,
"Ah.
Boss Long, I didn't disturb you, did I? It's Principal Zhao, isn't it? It's all right. The reason you called me is," Long Hanwen's voice came out of the phone. Zhao Dequan said with an obsequious laugh, "Chief Long, I'll report about the matter you wanted me to handle. Tang Xiu came to the driving school this morning, and I've specially arranged the best instructor to teach him driving skills and sense. The instructor just left." He said that Tang Xiu just left and he was the reincarnation of the god of driving. He only practiced this morning and didn't make even a single mistake. So I think that with his level of skill, even becoming an instructor in our driving school is no problem for him. I got it. Sorry for troubling you, Long Hanwen said. Zhao Dequan said with a smile, "You're most welcome, this is what I'm supposed to do anyway. Chief Long, I've done the best I can and I even had some dinners with my friends in the Department of Transportation. If nothing happens, Tang Xiu certainly will get his driver's license at the most in 10 to 15 days. Long Hanwen was silent for a moment and then slowly said, Principal Zhao, I've taken notice about what you've done, so I'll do my best to handle the matter with your son. If there's no accident within these 10 days to half a month, I'll be able to get him out of the district prison. However, after he comes out, I hope you use informal means to secretly send him abroad as fast as possible. The crime he had committed, after all, is not a minor matter. Yes, yes. I'll be sure to remember your words. Well, that's good. Farewell. The call ended. Zhao Dequan forced out a smile as he hung up the phone and rubbed his forehead hard. He had broken his own bottom line for his son. Originally, he still slightly condemned himself inside, but when he heard that Tang Xiu's driving skill was very good, he finally felt much better. Shortly before noon, Tang Xiu arrived at Caesar Grand Hotel. Yesterday's case led to the loss of a large number of guests for the Caesar Grand Hotel. The originally lively hotel was now deserted, as there were only a handful of attendants and environmental protection workers who were still doing their jobs. The security guards increased everywhere. It seems the Caesar Grand Hotel's business has been seriously hit. Tang Xiu smiled faintly. Under the gazes of the staff, he took the elevator and headed to Chen Wei's room. He didn't expect that even though it was already noon, Chen Wei was still sitting on the sofa with one of her legs on top of the other and wearing a facial mask that covered her face. Upon seeing the black-colored medicinal plaster that resembled a mask on her face, Tang Xiu smiled wryly inside. Hello, outlandish lady. Clean up your facial mask and change your clothes. I'll take you out for lunch. Chen Wei blinked and snorted, it's still early, why should we eat now? It's just only 10 before 12. Besides, I just put on this facial, it's only been 10 minutes. So take a sit and wait. I know from the mark on your makeup. But I will only wait for you until 12:30. If you're not ready by then, I'll have lunch by myself. I've spent the entire morning in the driving school, so you might not be hungry, but I'm. Tang Xiu said. You're so petty, you know that. Chen Wei gave a sidelong glance and curled her lips as she closed her eyes slowly. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Tang Xiu followed behind Chen Wei with a blackened face as they left the Caesar Hotel's entrance very slowly. Although he already said that he would only wait until 12:30, but Chen Wei, this outlandish woman, truly dragged her feet until it was nearly 1 o'clock. Even when they were about to go out, she even went to the bathroom to pee. What do you want to eat? Tang Xiu asked after they came to a nearby street. Anything of the highest quality. Chen Wei replied with a snort. I can't help you with that. But for the second one, I can take you to try them. Tang Xiu said. The highest one or I won't go. Chen Wei turned a blind eye and said. The best one are the meals made by mother. Tang Xiu said. Chen Wei's breathing came to a halt. She then immediately let out an awkward smile and said, then let's go the second grade. I'm actually a person that's easy to compromise. Tang Xiu directly caught a taxi and said that to the driver after he boarded it, Uncle, go to Long's dining hall, please. The cab driver was surprised as he turned around to look at Tang Xiu and hesitantly said, do you really want to go to Long's dining hall? The prices there are quite unusual. Besides, there's a strict requirement for people to eat there. I heard that they use a membership system, and if you're not a member, I'm afraid you can't even enter. I'm a member. Tang Xiu said. The cab driver turned his head with amazement on his face. For one to become a member of the Long's dining hall meant that their identity was not simple. One must know that the spending there was not solely covered with money since one also must have a certain status. However, he didn't know that Tang Xiu was able to get membership of the Long's dining hall entirely due to his relationship with Long Zhengyu. With an astonished expression, Chen Wei asked, Uncle, this Long's dining hall you said, does it really have very high requirements? Hi. It's simply outrageous. Only if you spend a huge amount of money, which I heard one has to spend at least 1 million yuan. Only then are you qualified to become a member there. Only the big shots in Star City as well as from the surrounding cities are able to get a membership. Being able to enter the Long's dining hall is taken as a pride for a lot of wealthy bosses. The cab driver forced out a smile and answered. Chen Wei turned to look at Tang Xiu as she said with an astonished expression, listening to Han Qinggu, "Your family only has a restaurant, how did you gain membership there? You know that curiosity kills people, don't you? You can freely open your mouth when you eat, but make sure you control your mouth when you speak. Just remember that today, I'll let you satiate your hunger and thirst to the full." Tang Xiu said with a smile. You really can act and show your image upside down, eh? But I'm afraid we'll be unable to even take a step into that place's entrance when we get there. I'm telling you now, I'll definitely pretend not to know you by that time and just turn around to leave. Chen Wei cast him a glance and curled her lips as she said with disdain. Tang Xiu looked outside through the windows, to the buildings that were passing by quickly. Without being salty nor weak, he said, "If you want, you can open the car's door and leave now, though." "Hell no. I still want to live." Chen Wei rolled her eyes. Chapter 214, The Broadening Experience. As high as its 49 floors, the Long's dining hall's shape resembled two golden dragons, whereas the middle arch was used for the anteroom with a sphere-like shape, which was the manifestation of two dragons playing with a bead. From afar, its majesty and grandiosity gave everyone who looked at it a sense of oppression. For security guards stood straight as spears outside the entrance, whereas a welcoming lady in formal attire kept smiling while checking out the guests' VIP membership cards. At the entrance, a limousine stopped and left again. However, when a taxi stopped before the entrance, eyes were immediately attracted to it, with despise and contempt within them. Tang Xiu got off the car along with Chen Wei, who looked somewhat unnatural. As he came to the welcoming lady, he said calmly, "I'm sorry miss, I forgot to bring my membership card." The welcoming lady showed an apologetic expression as she said, "Sir, Long's dining hall needs a membership card to enter. Unless you're a regular patron here. You've to look." Chen Wei's expression instantly turned a bit ugly. After hesitating for a moment, she repressed the urge to turn around and leave. It was a disgrace. Shameful. Because she found that Tang Xiu basically had no membership card here, whereas he was acting as though he was someone who had the rights to enter, wanting to join in. Tang Xiu's brow rose. His vision shifted toward the four securities and found one he saw previously. He faced the security guard as he waved and said, "Hey, you. Come here." The four security guards looked at Tang Xiu. The one who Tang Xiu knew and was called, immediately approached with a respectful expression, saying, "Hello, Mr. Tang, is there anything I can do for you? Can you tell her that I'm a regular patron here?" Tang Xiu said. The security guard then spoke to the welcoming lady, "Mr. Tang has been here many times and he's also VIP, as well as young Master Zheng Yu's friend." The welcoming lady's eyes flickered. Her face turned respectful as she said with a nod, "I'm really sorry for just now, Mr. Tang. Please come inside." Tang Xiu nodded and turned around, looking at Chen Wei's surprised expression as he then walked through the entrance. Even in her dreams, Chen Wei had never thought that everything would turn 180 degrees. Looking astonished, she hurriedly followed Tang Xiu through the entrance. Oh my god. This place is way too luxurious, isn't it? Much more than those 4- and 5-star hotels. Chen Wei looked around for a while and asked with a dropped jaw, "Tang Xiu, are you really a member here? Do you think we would be able to enter if I was not a member?" Tang Xiu asked back. But, the taxi driver said that only the wealthy and powerful can dine here. Chen Wei replied and asked curiously, "How did you? You don't think I'm a big shot, do you?" Tang Xiu sneered. "Humph. What big shot, eh?" Chen Wei snapped and said. "At the most, You're just only a smart high school graduate, nothing else. Tang Xiu shook his head and sighed, just forget it. You also have a backward IQ, it seems. Then, he continued, aside from your fierce mouth, I really have no expectation from your brain. Let's just go. And please, less nonsense and less asking, will you? Just fill your belly with whatever you want. Chen Wei angrily glared at Tang Xiu. But finding him headed inside directly, she swallowed her anger and followed him inside. Tang Xiu didn't want to take the presidential box, because he thought that there was no need for him to expend much on entertaining Chen Wei. After all, the presidential box was astronomical and he didn't want to waste his money, even if he could afford it. Therefore, he took the standard box and walked behind the attendant. Wow. It's really luxurious. Chen Wei was just like Granny Lu who visits the Grandview Garden. With a dropped jaw, she said, we can also see half of Star City from here. Tang shook his head. Whilst glancing at the attendant who was chuckling and covering her mouth, he said, get us a few of your specialties, 4 meat dishes, and 2 staples.
Ah.
A pot of soup also. Okay, please wait. The waiter quickly complied, and soon, another one came to serve tea. Chen Wei stood before the window, looking at the outside city landscape, exclaiming, damn. The rich really have a good life. This great aunt, I socialize well, I'll simply find a wealthy second-generation nouveau riche and marry him. Spending my time drinking and seeking pleasure and partying every night. And I dare say you'll be beaten by your man, since you don't do your responsibilities to take care of him, Tang Xiu said with a smile. In life one gotta have the ability to take care of themselves, no? Chen Wei talked back, and then asked.
Ah.
Right, where's the restroom? I need to fix my makeup and then wait for the grand meal. Go out and ask the attendants, they'll take you there. Tang Xiu said. All right. Chen Wei complied loudly, walking lively out of the box. 4 to 5 minutes later. The cell phone in Tang Xiu's pocket rang. When he took it out and saw the caller ID, he suddenly frowned, since the one calling was Chen Wei. Aren't you in the restroom? Don't tell me you forget your aunt's towel. I'm telling you, I'm a gentleman, and I never strolled into the women's restroom. Tang Xiu couldn't help teasing her. Tang Xiu, I seem to be in trouble. Come here quickly and help me. From her voice, Chen Wei was somewhat panicked. Tang Xiu's face turned cold and asked with a deep tone, what happened? Where are you? I'm in the corridor outside the restroom. I just accidentally hit the bonsai porch in the hallway and it hit someone else. And he wants me to pay compensation. Chen Wei said. Wait for me there. Tang Xiu said. After he hung up the phone, Tang Xiu quickly went out of the box and asked the attendant outside about the restroom location as he quickly headed toward the corridor on the left. You must pay the damages. My clothes are worth 58,000, 26,000 for my shoes, for a total of 84,000 yuan. You must also pay my medical expenses because my leg hurts because of you. I'll give you a small account with the interest of 16,000. So you must pay me 100,000 yuan. If you can't pay it, it won't be as simple as a slap in your face. An arrogant voice reverberated in the hallway. Can I wait for my friend first? He's coming here. It was Chen Wei's voice. Waiting for someone, eh? I tell you, I don't give a damn even if an emperor comes, you still must compensate me. Not a dime less, otherwise I won't end things here. Fuck, it's so fucking bad luck. The man's voice and tone were even more arrogant. Tang Xiu was just only 10 meters away from them. He could clearly see the man's appearance and didn't expect the world to be so small that he could bump into the guy he had given a lesson before. What a big tone, eh? Just give it a try. I wanna see what you'll do if she doesn't want to pay you, Tang Xiu spoke whilst approaching. Anger was written on Hu Wanjuan's face. When he turned around and saw Tang Xiu, his pupils suddenly shrunk, as fear could be seen in his eyes. He heard Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin's plan before, and he even had the intention to join them. However, the Zhang family had fallen now, even the siblings' whereabouts were unknown. He also suspected that Tang Xiu was related to that matter. "Why are you here?" Sneering, Tang Xiu said, "Why can't I? She's my friend and I just heard that someone is looking to trouble her." Hu Wanjun was someone who relied on his family background. Even though he knew that Tang Xiu was a powerful martial artist, he didn't want to lose face, saying, "What's wrong with what I said? To begin with, it's her who's in the wrong, not me. She's the one who bumped into the porch and injured me. It's perfectly justified if I want her to pay damages." "How much do you want for the compensation?" Tang Xiu said indifferently. Hu Wanjun stared at Chen Wei as he proudly said, 100,000. Tang Xiu took his bank card and handed it to him, saying, "There's 1 million in this card. 10 times the compensation. Are you satisfied?" Hu Wanjun blankly stared for a moment. He thought that Tang Xiu was afraid of him. A bit of a smiling expression was revealed on his face as he said with a nod, "Well, consider this matter finished. You are satisfied, aren't you?" "But I'm not. If I'm not wrong, the mark on my friend's face should be from your slap, shouldn't it? Her body is very precious and expensive. Whoever moves even a strand of her hair, I won't let them go, let alone slapping her. So, you gotta pay the medical expenses for her, am I right?" The smile on Hu Wanjuan's face coagulated. He looked at Tang Xiu with disbelief and shifted his vision toward the bank card in his hand. He suddenly sobered up and bellowed, "You want to kill me? Humph, if I wanted to kill you, your corpse would long be floating in the Pacific Ocean already. I'm giving you a chance to pay my friend's medical expenses and end this matter. Else I will never let you go." Tang Xiu sneered. Hu Wanjuan's face flickered. He looked at the box at the distance, took a deep breath and asked, "How much do you want?" 11 million, Tang Xiu said lightly. Hiss, Hu Wanjun sucked cold air, whereas disbelief was written on Chen Wei's face. "An hour. If you don't send me the money within this time window to my dining box, I will consider your Hu family to be just like the Zhang family. You will forever disappear from Star City and even the world. Do remember, this is a threat," Tang Xiu said. After having said that, he grabbed Chen Wei's wrist and walked toward the box. As dumbstruck as she was, Chen Wei could only let herself be pulled by Tang Xiu. Had it been before, she'd probably have shaken off Tang Xiu's hand, but now, warmness filled her heart even though there was an intense sense of crisis also mixed within. Having gone back to their box, Chen Wei asked with a somewhat pale complexion, "Tang Xiu, do you think they will pay the compensation? You just gave him 1 million. That's 1 million. There's no way he'll give it back." "Of course, I also don't want him to give it back either." Chen Wei swallowed her own saliva and no longer spoke. At the hallway, Hu Wanjun held the 1 million bank card in his hand and suddenly felt that it turned into a hot potato. Originally, he was thinking to completely ignore Tang Xiu's threat. However, what made him tremble down to his core and panic was that Tang Xiu mentioned the Zhang family. What did he mean by saying it? Was the Zhang's fall because of him? Chapter 215, Paying Compensation. Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. For decades the Zhangs have managed to stay in Star City and are deeply rooted here. How could it be shaken by one young man? Hu Wanjun returned to the box he just looked at with a distraught appearance. After entering it, he returned back to his seat with a dazed look and didn't even glance at the people on the table. Hu Xinmin frowned as he looked at his son's dull face with displeasure. He was entertaining the shareholders of his company, and his son, who was the first heir to the family, unexpectedly showed such lack of manners. This was the same as shaming him. Wan Jun. What happened to you? Upon hearing his father's voice, Wan Jun suddenly quivered. He squeezed out a smile and said, I seem to have made a big trouble. What trouble? Tell me. Hu Xinmin asked with a deep tone. Wan Jun told everything that happened outside and finally said, Dad, that surname Tang kid said I must pay 11 million yuan of compensation if our Hu family doesn't want to suffer the same fate as the Zhangs and disappear from Star City or even the world. What? Hu Xinmin's face instantly turned unsightly. The shareholders present were also looking at each other in dismay, aghast. Does this Tang Xiu young man has any grudges with the Zhangs? A middle-aged man asked. Yes, Tang Xiu has once hit Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin. So Zhang Deqin took revenge on him, asking her fiancé to lead some people to strike Tang Xiu. Her fiancé was an instructor at Rising Dragon Martial School back then. But not only did they fail to clean him up, Tang Xiu even tidied them up instead. He even sent them back to their school hall and humiliated the Rising Dragon Martial School as well. In the end, the schoolmaster compensated him with 100 million yuan, only then the matter ended. However, later on, Zhang Deqin still wanted revenge, so she hired 3 assassins from abroad. But the result was that not only they failed to kill him, they even died outside Southgate town instead. Wan Jun said. At present, 7 or 8 major shareholders of the Hu Group turned aghast and horrified. They also heard about the murder case outside Southgate town, but they never imagined that the meat of the matter turned out to be like this. Hu Xinmin's face now also turned extremely ugly as his body shivered. After taking a deep breath, he said in a deep tone, Where's Tang Xiu now? He seems to be in a box on this floor. Wan Jun answered. Take me to see him. Hu Xinmin said with sunk tone. Dad, Wan Jun quickly cried. With a sunk tone, Hu Xinmin shouted, Go. Wan Jun quickly lowered his head and then took the lead out of the box. In the hallway, Hu Xinmin rushed and blocked Wan Jun. He fiercely slapped his face and snapped with a stern voice, Tell me, what grudge do you have with that surnamed Tang kid? Wan Jun covered his face on pain and said, We had some conflicts before. But those matters are already over. I wasn't involved in the conflict between him and the Zhang siblings. Hu Xinmin heaved a deep breath. He took out a checkbook and wrote 21 million yuan on it and ordered Wan Jun to ask Tang Xiu's box number and rushed there. Although he was quite reluctant to part with 21 million yuan, however, he had no other choice. He saw the Zhang family's fate, and Tang Xiu must also be one of many behind the incident. Even if he didn't want to, he also didn't want his Hu family to end up collapsing just like the Zhangs. In his heart, the ones he most hated were not those masterminds, but the Zhang family, especially Zhang Fengxian. The Hu family amassed 2 billion yuan and gave it to Zhang Fengxian as to join in the project's preparation and share the cake. They had even signed a contract in private. In the end, not only did the chicken fly the coop and the eggs break, they even suffered a loss of 2 billion yuan. Not only that. Even the members of the Zhang family disappeared collectively. He could only swallow his own suffering without being able to speak it out. Therefore, he didn't want to make the slightest mistake now. Even if Tang Xiu was just merely related to the Long family. Inside a spacious box. Chen Wei savored the fragrant meal absent-mindedly. She wasn't even tasting its flavor as her eyes couldn't help but always look at the box's door. Finally, she put down the chopsticks in her hand, turned to Tang Xiu and asked, Tell me, will they come here? They will. Tang Xiu said calmly. How can you be so sure? Chen Wei asked. Because they're afraid of me. Tang Xiu replied indifferently. Tang Xiu's reply amused Chen Wei. Her disturbed mood gradually disappeared. She shook her head and said, I really can't figure you out. Han Qingwu told me that you're just an ordinary student. Except for your good achievements in school, she said that there's nothing else special. But now, I beg to differ. The things you did yesterday and today are kinda giving me a feeling that you're very mysterious. Tang Shou involuntarily laughed. You're not Conan, you shouldn't be overly suspicious like that. Just take it easy and eat. I believe we'll get an answer soon. Chen Wei nodded and grabbed the chopsticks again. The moment she was about to continue eating, the box's door was knocked as the attendant outside came inside and said, "Hello, Mr. Tang. Hu Xinmin, the owner of the Hu Group and his son, they are outside. Do you want to receive them? Let them come in." Tang Shou said. Understood. The attendant turned around and left the box. Shortly after, Hu Xinmin took Hu Wanjun into the box. His eyes glanced at Chen Wei for a moment before landing on Tang Xiu. He quickly walked a few steps before Tang Xiu and said while smiling, "I have heard much about the distinguished name of Mr. Tang. I finally can see you today. Truly, you're a promising young man. I'm Hu Xinmin, the head of the Hu family." Looking at his stretched out hand, Tang Xiu ignored it as he said with a dull tone, "I know why you came. Leave the compensation and get out." Hu Xinmin's complexion was stiff as he took back his hand with an awkward expression. He pulled a check out of his pocket and put it on the table in front of Tang Xiu and said with a wry smile, "Mr. Tang, this son of mine is naive and insensible, he offended you and your friend thoughtlessly. I hope you accept my apology. Here's a 21 million check and your bank card, 22 million yuan altogether. Please consider the money as the apology of our Hu family, I hope it's not lacking." Tang Xiu nodded and said with a deadpan expression, "I know your Hu family signed an agreement with the Zhangs and you suffered quite a loss. But I politely advise you to pay more attention in making friends as well as involving yourselves in schemes. It's the same with your son. You need to teach him well and not let him use his family background to commit evil deeds. Oftentimes one's entire family is implicated only because of a trivial matter, just like what happened with the Zhang family siblings. Alright, since I've said everything, you can go." Hu Xinmin's pupils shrunk. Dreadful raging waves surged inside his heart upon hearing Tang Xiu's words. Before, he wasn't sure Tang Xiu was the main mastermind behind the scheme against the Zhang family. But to think that he knew the clandestine agreement signed by the Hus and the Zhangs, then, perhaps, the clansmen of the Zhangs had died and been destroyed by his hands. "Yes. I understand." Hu Xinmin replied with an obsequious smile. Immediately after, he fiercely glared at Hu Wanjun as he turned around and left the box. At this moment, Chen Wei was dumbstruck. Not even in her wildest dreams had she ever imagined that Tang Xiu's words would come true. Not only did the other party pay the compensation, they even gave several folds more compared to the amount Tang Xiu had given before. When there were only the both of them inside the box, Chen Wei quickly grabbed the check and carefully read it. Then, she said with a flabbergasted look, "This Hu family truly paid? And it was the head of the family himself? Didn't you tell them you wanted only 11 million in compensation? Why did they pay you 22 million? That means that Hu Xinmin is a sensible and thoughtful person. About this matter, give me your bank card, I'll give you 2 million yuan as your medical expenses. I'll take the rest." With a pale smile, Tang Xiu said. Chen Wei stared blankly for a moment. Then, she shook her head and said, "No, no, no. I can't take it. They definitely didn't want to give the compensation to me, it's all because of you." "Well, I take back my words," Tang Xiu said with a smile. "What?" Chen Wei was puzzled. "That you have a backward IQ," Tang Xiu said. Chen Wei froze. She finally couldn't help smiling as she cursed, "Damn you. You even dare to tease me. Anyways, who are you really? Why would such a big respected family's head come apologize to you personally? To think that he even apologized with such fearful expression? And the Jing family you mentioned, were they very powerful? Tang Xiu said with a pale smile, I'm just me, an ordinary high school graduate, no more no less. As for why they came to apologize, that was because they were repenting for their wrongdoings. It's the truth, honest. About the Zhang family, I don't want you to ask about it again, as well as forget everything I've said today. Chen Wei cast him a sidelong glance and said with dissatisfaction, humph, virtue and morality wise eh. If you don't want to say it, then so be it. This miss doesn't want to know it either. Knock, knock. The door was knocked. Tang Xiu looked and immediately saw Long Zhengyu leaning on the door, beaming a smile with his arms folded. Tang Xiu smiled back as he waved at him and asked, How did you know that I was having a meal here? Long Zhengyu chuckled, How could I not know? You made quite a ruckus. Cut the crap, just say it. Tang Xiu snapped. Long Zhengyu laughed. I just happened to bump into Hu Xinmin. His face is so black. He looks like he bathed in black charcoal. I greeted him back then, only then did I know that his son Huan Jun offended you, saying he came to pay you compensation. Tang Xiu smiled indifferently and said, Since God can forgive sinners, why can't we do the same? This Hu Xinmin is also a flexible person and knows how to adapt to the situation. That's why the matter ended like this. Anyways, have you had lunch? If not, care to join us? Long Zhengyu was a bit curious as his eyes fell on Qinwei and asked, This is? She's just a passerby, stranger eh, wait until tomorrow and you won't see her again in your entire life. Don't ask what and how. Humph, you're the stranger eh?